being videotaped.
Sure.
So how does it feel being the coolest guy of the group?
The coolest guy in the group. Yeah, that was such a shock coming out of the panel. I was like, wow, everybody's in trouble if I'm the coolest one here, for sure. I think Pete is the most laid back because he has nothing else going on in his life except for fantasy football. So in that way, he has nothing to lose. But I wouldn't call Pete cool.
Do you always have to take a deep breath and relax yourself before going into the role of your character?
No, not really. I mean, if it's not like this is a very emotionally deep show. This is about people being casual and being with their friends and telling hopefully some highly refined dick jokes. So that doesn't require too much prep.
You, like Paul, have a very busy schedule.
Mm-hmm.
You have the show and you have all the movies that you do with your brother. And just how do you keep all that straight, and then when you come back to the show, you have to be back on and improvise?
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot, and it's juggling a lot, and everybody on the show honestly has their busy outside lives, but we're in our 5th season now, and we kind of know each other pretty well, and we know our characters really well, and so I think it's nice having a balance of doing other things.
What's the biggest passion, acting or directing?
That's a great question. I think that acting, generally speaking, I tend to have more fun, but nothing will be as rewarding as like having written and directed a movie with my brother, but it's a little more painful.
Being a director, do you often are you walking onto the set of the league being like, well, can we try it this way? I mean, it's improvised. On top of that,
sure.
Does your director brain go on?
It really doesn't, and it's because the league is so different from the things that I write and direct. The league is about joke hunting and trying to get to the best joke in the fastest way possible, whereas my stuff is very slow building and very relationship oriented and comedically dramatic, and so there's nobody better to direct the league than Jeff Schaffer. He is the fucking best. He is an ace at it, and so I'm the last person who would try to tell him how to do it differently. He's got it down.
What would a written, directed episode for you look like for the league?
It would be pretty bad. I got to be honest with you, because I would be trying to get into the characters' motivations and feelings. As soon as one of the verbal insults came out that normally comes out in the league, everybody would stop and they would have to have a 20-minute conversation about why that's not cool and why we can't move forward until there's a proper apology
Should be crying right
and an
now.
examination of the friendships to the core. And that would be the episode. And I don't think it'd be very good.
I know.
Do you think that there's a line Pete cannot cross where if we go past this, he stops being watchable and charming and enjoyable?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think that Pete is charming to everyone. I think Pete is super douchey in a lot of ways, and he's kind of smug, and so you got to kind of watch that a little bit. But that's part of what makes him interesting to me too, is that a guy who has so little going for him in his life. His job sucks, he has no romantic prospects, he's poor, his apartment is a shithole, yet he still carries himself with the confidence of the president of the student council. And that's kind of interesting to me. I like that about him.
What was your favorite thing to come up with on set? What's one of your standout scenes for you that you were?
I was very proud of nabbing the hard-on boys joke in the episode we just watched. I was like, oh, that was a quickie. I feel good about that.
And what was the most challenging one? When you were riffing, what was the most challenging one to do with the group?
What's really hard is when you are improvising about second-tier football player names that aren't as readily available. When you're improvising about emotions or whatever, they're all right there. You know what they are. Sometimes you have to be like, okay, I need to memorize these 15 players, put them in the bank, and then improvise off of them as if I've known them my whole life. That's kind of challenging.
How much knowledge did you have of that before?
I know I'm an NFL fan, and I knew a lot of that stuff. But, sometimes you talk about, picking somebody up off the waiver wire and some obscure player, and you need to do a little research on that stuff.
Were you in any leagues before you joined the league?
I didn't play fantasy at all before I started the show, and then I got really into it through being on the show, and then we have a league, obviously, cast and crew, we play in one together, so that's fun.
The league's league.
The league of the league.
You win?
I'm I'm winning this year. I have not won yet. Katie won the first year, which was a shame to all of us because she knew nothing about football or fantasy football. She just shamed us. But so far, in week 6, I'm hanging in.
I forgot what the question.
It was going to be great.
It was. I'm positive.
I'll just answer it. I'll imagine what the question was. I do consider myself the voice of my generation. I do, and I'm glad you were able to see that in me because not everybody does. Yeah.
But
Anything else? No.
but on that, you this show speaks to has attracted this very young audience who sort of are really into it in a weird way. Like
It's a cult thing.
yeah,
For sure.
How do you feel about that? And sort of your career is like packed full of these cult hits.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
I mean, I grew up completely outside of the industry. I had no connections to the industry, and I just grew up making weird little shit on my crappy video cameras, and that's what I continue to do. And it's often those projects that people feel pride of ownership on, particularly viewers, because they feel like they've discovered you and that you're not being shoved down their throat. They had to find you, and I think that creates that sense of pride and that sense of fanatical sort of allegiance to the show.
Does Rocky scare you at all?
No, because I'm very close with Jason Mantzoukas, and he is one of the most sensitive and sweet human beings on the planet. And that's why he's one of our greatest actors. He is a very emotionally evolved, sensitive boy.
Keep talking.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add about the league, or that you'd like us to know that we haven't necessarily asked?
No, I think we're covered.
You said you guys hit it out of the park.
What's that?
You said you guys hit it out of the park.
Yeah, that's it, man. Killed it. All right, you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time, man.
Thank you very much.